Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm David Gadsden here with Esri, along with my colleague, David Smetana. And we're here to share some information about an initiative that we've been working on to help optimize the use of ArcGIS for protected area management. I should say before we begin that we need to extend our thanks to Raquel Perez, who's working behind the scenes to help pull together this entire presentation today. So thank you, Raquel. As many of you know, Esri's been working for many years to build a complete platform for the management, analysis, and sharing of geographic information. ArcGIS is now the result of over 50 years of development in information technology and software focused on geography and geographic information. Our posture as an organization is to serve our users, organizations like your own that are out there doing the real work to make a difference in the world. And your work relates to some of the incredible challenges that are out there pressing both our natural world and human society. So we take our work very seriously, and any investment in Esri that you make to get access to our technology, we are very careful about the way that we reinvest those resources to advance this platform, because we feel very strongly that the changes of the human footprint around the world, the pressure on natural areas, the threats presented by climate change, and the ever-expanding human footprint are reaching a point of crisis by which everyone really needs to do everything they can to begin to focus on and address whatever resources they have access to address these challenges. So our work is here to serve you in working to tackle these complex global issues. Now, one of the ways that we focus our work here at Esri is investing in the conservation community, organizations that are out there both helping enrich our understanding of the natural environment, the complex dynamics between natural and human systems, and working on policy and engagement and working towards patterns of change in human behavior to help advance better stewardship and better management of our footprint on the Earth. Now, today's topic is about achieving conservation intelligence. And perhaps conservation intelligence is a new concept for you. It's really one of those emerging concepts like location intelligence that take many trends in technology, new innovations, new timeliness for the use of information management systems and decision support systems, and achieves a new level of performance or monitoring. So conservation intelligence is really sort of an emerging concept. So rather than attempt to define it for you, I want to defer to the experts. And some of the experts in the field include the work that African Parks is doing across the continent of Africa. We were incredibly grateful to have the African Parks team present at the Esri User Conference this year, and to dive deeper into a very advanced deployment of this conservation intelligence approach and model, if you will. I really want to encourage you to head to YouTube and watch that presentation from last summer. Now, as we began this project, we really started by listening carefully with the community that we've been engaged with for many years, and checking in on sort of the state of the art or the state of technology in use today in the conservation field. And when it comes to protected area management, we found many great technologies and many important initiatives. There are donor initiatives, there are national government tools that have been developed and supported by consultants or other means. There are many great actors in this field, and they all have the best intentions to bring technology to address conservation challenges. Our realization, however, is that there is a significant lack of integration that allows these various technologies that might be focused on an aspect of protected area management and to pull it together into a comprehensive system. And so we feel, based on our findings through the course of this project over the past 2 years, that there's a significant way that we can contribute to help towards that integration and towards that complete view of protected area management activities. And that's in part because of what we bring with ArcGIS today. This platform, our geospatial cloud, that takes all of Esri's work over these 50 years and brings it forward in an integrated fashion that can be turned on immediately for use in the field. We're far beyond the days of installing software and managing files only locally. We're at a point today where all of the robust capabilities of ArcGIS are there and ready to use in a cloud configured pattern. And it's important to note that our initiative today, as we think of it in this frame of conservation intelligence or protected area management, is very much a cloud-first web GIS pattern as we think of it. And there's a few reasons for that. While software absolutely works in the field, achieving an enterprise class software in the field is very difficult. And maintaining the servers and connectivity and security that's needed to accomplish the level of performance and decision support that's needed is actually quite expensive and oftentimes difficult to sustain for most organizations. So what we're focused on is how do we bring forward a cloud-first web GIS pattern that really any protected area in the world can use, so long as they have a basic internet connection at least a few of their offices. So ArcGIS is an open platform, and we invest heavily in standards and interoperability and extending our platform to be part of an information technology ecosystem. So our investments in accreditation for open standards, the secure way that we can support transactions across various systems, and the way that we integrate with the open science community and open tools like R and Python allows us to both support operational systems, but provide the basis for taking that content further in a well-structured exchange with other relevant technologies. Also, because we're proposing a cloud pattern for use of protected area data and content, it's extremely important that that information is secure. And we well understand that many organizations are still concerned about the cloud and sort of the lack of knowledge of exactly where content is being managed. And that is not uncommon for all of Esri's customers. So over the past decade, as we've been moving into the cloud pattern and working with infrastructure providers and extending out the ArcGIS platform, we've invested heavily in meeting accreditation and standards that are sufficient for the use of our technology at major corporations, across the federal government of the United States, as well as through European Union and other standards. I encourage you, if you have questions or concerns about security, to visit this trust.arcgis.com site, where there's far more information on the topic. Now, the opportunity for protected areas of this web GIS pattern is a complete suite of tools that can be configured for various workflows and various challenges in managing these areas and interfacing effectively with the communities and partners in and around these protected areas. So because we have the cloud pattern and the apps configured together that work seamlessly and support transactions in a seamless and encrypted manner, what we can do is then optimize the configuration of these apps for specific workflows. Now, the other benefit of the web GIS pattern is content. If you're familiar, if you're a GIS professional and have been working in the field for some time, you well know that likely when you started just getting data organized, getting your GIS layers discovered, properly projected, symbolized reasonably well, in order to begin your mapping project was a major part of your work. What's changed is that as our entire user community, which is in excess of 350,000 organizations around the world, as that professional GIS community has embraced the web GIS pattern, they've discovered it's a great opportunity to share their content. Organizations that have invested in accurate, rich, and authoritative spatial data can then share that data out through the entire geospatial community through the ArcGIS platform. Now, there are millions and millions of items stored in ArcGIS Online in Esri's web GIS. 8,500 or over 8,000 of those layers are actually curated and posted to what we refer to as a living atlas of the world. And this is really an unparalleled collection of spatial data that's available for anyone that's using the ArcGIS platform. And what this means for protected areas is that we can offer, for example, an elevation service or a DEM type model for the entire world. Now, Esri's elevation service is not just a premium data set that we baked up. It actually has hundreds, if not thousands, of contributors across the geospatial community that have shared their terrain data with us in order to provide the best available seamless global coverage of elevation that is likely available. And what that allows a protected area to do from the very beginning when they start using Esri's platform for their work is things like calculate a viewshed. So you can drop a pin anywhere in any protected area in the world and see what's visible from that location. Or you can trace up or downstream if you're curious about hydrology or the flow or potential access into a protected area through waterways by poachers or other threats. So that capability traditionally was quite advanced and required a GIS professional and a significant amount of effort to get data ready to conduct that analysis. We can today offer everyone a web application that they can simply drag and drop a pin and have that capability. So that's powered both by the analytical opportunities of ArcGIS, but fundamentally having content available and ever increasingly available is a very significant opportunity for protected areas. Now, we are proposing a web-based pattern, a cloud-based pattern for protected area management. It's critical to point out that a continuous, stable, fast connection is not required. What we do require is an occasional connection to the cloud so that we can synchronize activities that are taking place on mobile devices that are operating in a disconnected manner, and then bring that together and fuse that with a data management storehouse that is provided in the cloud. Now, there are many opportunities to synchronize that data into local GIS desktops or have that available for offline use. And again, I would refer you back to the African Parks presentation at the Esri User Conference for some strategies as to how to accomplish that hybrid pattern of use. But this disconnected, occasionally connected pattern is increasingly robust. We're also seeing increasing availability of networks, whether those are cellular, internet connections, radio-based, as well as LoRa and IoT and Sigfox networks that are connecting in sensors in real time. So the field operations that are supported, there are a variety of apps that are supported for field operations from the ArcGIS platform. And what we'll be showing you today is how we can take these tools and orchestrate them together to get specific work accomplished. Now, there are many types of observations that are possible in the field. In some cases, you really just want to have a simple application where you perhaps tap a photo, or you say, I'm gonna tell you what kind of condition the road I'm driving on is in. So as you're driving down the road, you tap a button and it's going to collect the feature as you drive. In other cases, you need more elaborate forms and logic so that as you complete a form, that when you answer a question, you may have subsequent questions that then appear because of logic that's built into the form collection. Or perhaps you're collecting geographic features, points, lines, and polygons, or areas when you're in the field. So because of those different types of needs, there are different mobile applications that can be configured to support collecting field information. All of that is then made available through other web applications. Web apps that support analytics, dashboards that give you a real-time view of all of the information that's federating in from across and around the protected areas. And the entire goal is better timeliness of field observations to decision-making and support. Now, we're tracking very closely the evolution of IoT and real-time systems. We have had for many years a very robust real-time analytics server that is designed to ingest thousands of feeds per second in an operational setting. It is an enterprise-class system. Where we're headed now is to bring those sort of real-time monitoring capabilities directly into ArcGIS Online. So early next year, you'll begin to see the ability for the cloud pattern we're describing to natively tie in and provide analytics on the fly for incoming and potentially very large data sets. Now, as you all know, Esri is not just a mapping company. We don't just do cartography. We're very focused on complete data management, on accurate visualization, but especially our passion has always been spatial analysis. So we've continued to invest across partnerships and with our own development teams to provide very advanced spatial analytical tools that can be designed to solve very complex problems. Increasingly, those models that are developed to address these problems can be shared as services that persist in the system, so that as data comes in, perhaps these models are invoked and run on a regular basis, or even increasingly in real time. So supporting the development of the conservation data science community is something we're very focused on. Today, we're focused in our presentation on the operational use of ArcGIS to help get the house in order relative to data management, collection, analysis, and visualization. However, that presents the opportunity to bring more advanced analytics for monitoring, prediction, targeting limited resources, etc. Now, a very simple app, which has turned out to be extremely important across our community, is story maps. And so we have the ability to take geographic information, photos, videos, your own narratives and text, infographics, and to script those into a story that your viewers simply scroll through. And that gives us the ability to share our work in a way that really was a bit more challenging when we only had maps to work with. We've now supported our users to publish over 1 million story maps. They're very easy to use, and it really sets up an opportunity for you to get the word out about your work, whether that's encouraging tourism, whether that's sharing information about incidents, or educating the community around your protected area. Story maps, it turns out, are very fundamental to supporting communications and outreach in protected areas. Now, with so much technology to work with in the ArcGIS platform, we've begun to develop a pattern of supporting our users where, just like we're about to show you, we take our fundamental tools and apps and we optimize them for common workflows across different industries. And those industries include state and local government, telecoms, other major sectors that have a common need. And rather than each organization taking either our native software or the building blocks of our tools and developing their own pattern through a system integration investment, internal or external, we're actually optimizing these tool sets and making them available consistently so that they can be quickly deployed. These are open source. The templates can be configured and modified as needed by the user community, and we also provide technical support for these patterns of use. Now, what we're here to introduce is a ArcGIS solution for protected area management. And that allows us to look across the needs of protected areas and preserves and actually optimize some patterns of use for accomplishing that work more efficiently. So that view of this solution really begins with content we're offering from the Living Atlas. I mentioned elevation. It also includes remote sensing imagery that we're pulling in every night from both Sentinel-2 and Landsat 8, where we have these large imagery catalogs that are available to support change detection and monitoring, which again are just available across all of the apps that we're proposing as part of this configuration. Now, each park has shape files, CSV files that relate to spatial data, a tremendous amount of content. We can also support and manage that content within the cloud, within ArcGIS Online, and then make that seamlessly available across multiple users as appropriate, based on the appropriate security model for that protected area. There are many different types of business process and workflows that are supported through the configurations we'll show you now. And that openness and interoperability allows us to be a contributor to existing systems, a partner with other investments that are out there in the conservation technology field. And we're very inspired by our partnerships as they continue to evolve with many entities that are out there doing terrific work. Now, I mentioned a moment ago a story map, and I just wanted to briefly show you a story map that focuses on the protected area management solution that we'll show you more details about now. And we'll mention this again towards the end of the presentation, but we do have a PDF that'll be available in the resources for the that will give you these links directly, so we'll be able to find these more quickly. So again, this is an example of a story map that introduces our project. Now, it's very important that I acknowledge National Geographic Society and Esri's partnership with National Geographic. Without that partnership, it would have been very difficult for us to take on this initiative in the way that we have over the past 2 years. So by working with National Geographic grantees and explorers and aligning our resources, we're both developing technology that we'll make available, as well as supporting the storytelling and expertise that National Geographic can advise these organizations in order to really advance the use of these tools. Now, I will mention now that as part of that partnership with National Geographic, we've made a commitment to donate the ArcGIS solution for protected area management to any protected area in Africa over the next decade. So we're very serious about contributing here, and we've been able to obtain the support from our leadership at Esri and in partnership with Nat Geo in order to stand behind that commitment. Now, around the world, we're developing very low-cost patterns that will allow any organization around the world to use these tools. So don't be discouraged if you're not working in Africa on the call today, but we really encourage you to apply and participate regardless of where in the world you are, so that we can work together to optimize these tools for protected area work. Now, the solutions that we focused on within the ArcGIS solution for protected area management include an ecology solution, infrastructure, outreach, and protection. Now, for example, when we're talking about ecology, we're actually supporting both the management of field crews, the collection of information by the field crews, dashboards that provide leadership, a view of what's happening, and analytical tools that are powered by our web apps. The infrastructure solution is similar in that it's focused on keeping parks operational, roads open, buildings painted, et cetera, all of the work that has to happen to keep parks safe and open. Managing the workforce, collection of surveys to confirm work was done, and an overall view of what's happening. Outreach leverages the story maps I mentioned, but also provides an opportunity for collection in and around the protected areas, whether there are investments with the community, economic development, human-wildlife conflict related or otherwise, and dashboards as well. Protection brings a similar tool set and integrates not only the ability to collect, visualize the overall picture, but also analyze some of those trends. So rather than continuous slides, I'd like to transition over to my colleague Dave Smetana, who will show you a bit more about these tools in use.
All right, thanks, Dave. Hi, everyone. This is Dave Smetana, and I'm Esri's technical lead for the ArcGIS Solutions for Protected Area Management. And I'm just going to share my screen here. So what I have on the screen here is ArcGIS Online, and this is a configuration of the solutions for protected area management for Gorongosa National Park in Mozambique. And everything you see is live ArcGIS Online, but the data is fictional, and that's because we don't want to expose any sensitive information. All capabilities are available to any ArcGIS Online organization. So the content management, the security, the applications are all available, and Esri maintains those and hosts those on behalf of a global customer base. And so what that means is that protected areas, conservation areas, communities managing natural resources, governments managing national parks can all use the technology without needing to maintain it. So let's dive in here. So as you can see, I'm logged in. So all access and security is controlled through logins. So when you're using the solutions, you have full control over who can access your organization, and you can control what those members can do. So in this case, I'm an administrator, which means that I have some additional privileges in my organization to control access, to control content. So I'm going to walk through some of those controls first to show you what is available as an administrator, and then I'm going to change roles. I'm going to show you the system from the perspective of a field staff or a ranger or from a manager of one of these departments. So in the organization tab, as an administrator, I can see how many members I have, the types of activities that are going on in my organization. In the members area, I can add people. I can invite people from other ArcGIS Online organizations. So let's say I'm managing a protected area on a national or state boundary, and there's a park on the other side of that boundary using ArcGIS Online. I can invite their members to participate in information sharing in a controlled way. I also have the ability to create branding and identity, so I can use, I have settings here that I can use to create a home page, customize that, and then I also have security settings. So in my organization, there are already governance practices for how I communicate and have access to information in email or other systems. We allow you the same capabilities here in ArcGIS Online. So you have full control of who has access to your organization, as well as what those members can do. No one at Esri has access to this information, and Esri does not claim any ownership of any content that you create in ArcGIS. It's yours alone. Speaking of content, let's take a look at this area. So as a member of an organization, under my content, I have the lists of layers, maps, and apps that I have created in ArcGIS. When I started my organization, I gathered up all of the GIS projects, the spreadsheets, other data from other systems that have been used to collect information in my park, and I've uploaded it here. So now I have a single repository for all of my current operational data as well as my historical data sets. David mentioned the Living Atlas, and here's where I can access those 8,000 curated authoritative layers that Esri provides to all ArcGIS Online users. And if I want, I recently heard about the World Database of Protected Areas layer being added to the Living Atlas, so I can make that a favorite, and now that content is available to me in other maps. We've mentioned membership and the different functions that protected areas need to have in place to secure and operate parks. And so groups are used in ArcGIS Online to form teams of people that need to work together using the same information and the same tools. So we've mentioned that we have a solution for ecology, infrastructure, outreach, and protection. And so in this organization, we have a group of people that perform ecology activities or protection. I'm going to show you two of these groups now and the tools that we've enabled for these, and then we'll leave some time for discussion. So as we're going through the demo, please put your questions in the forum, and we'll get to those at the end. Let's look at the ecology solution. So the story map highlights some of the roles that we have been thinking about and been informed by our customers in Africa and other parts of the world. And we've developed two apps, one for the park ecologist to be able to perform analysis on wildlife data, and then for field staff or rangers to be able to collect that data in the field. So in this group, I have a number of members that help with ecology and wildlife management, and the two apps that are available to them. One is a digital form that they can use on a mobile device using Esri's Survey 123 app, and then a web app. And this web app provides the analysis and reporting tools that an ecology department needs. Let's take a look at the form. So I'm showing you this form in the web browser, but if I was a field staff or a ranger trained in wildlife observations, I'd be using this on my smartphone using the Survey 123 app. But as you can see, I have a series of questions that I can complete. So I can take a wildlife observation here, standing in the field. I'm going to choose, let's say, leopard. That's a fun one. These are completely customizable, so this list can be any set of animals or species that you want, whether they're marine, freshwater, terrestrial, invasives, insects, you name it. All of these choices are completely customizable, but we've created a template so that you can start working with the forms immediately. These forms are also based on paper forms and other digital data collection that we saw in African parks and Tanzania national parks and a few other groups. So we've got a leopard. I can gather some other information about the observation, about the wildlife. I can take a photo, and I can also ask the device to provide me with my GPS location. So we're always collecting location with these forms. If I'm standing on the other side of a river or some other feature, I can also reposition that pin if I need to. I can take some notes, and when I submit, if my device is connected to a cell signal or to a Wi-Fi network, that submission is automatic and immediately goes into ArcGIS Online. If it's not connected, it's stored to the device, and I can synchronize it later. So as field staff, I'm able to collect this data. It's in a standard format. It's also secured, and it's associated with my identity, so we know who's submitting this information. Over time, that information is gathered in ArcGIS Online, and we can expose that information to other staff. So in this view, as an ecologist, I can come in to my web application and I can review the data, the wildlife observation data that's accumulated over time. So here I am in my park, and I can start by taking a look at the layers that are in my app. I can set transparencies and set a few other things. I can also change the base map. So if I want to access the imagery that Esri provides or other base maps, I can do that. A typical analysis workflow or reporting workflow might involve first filtering data by geography. So I can use bookmarks to filter data by extent. I can also filter that data using the attributes that are part of the data. So if I have a standard monthly report, I can use that to filter out data that way. I can also create session-based filters. So here are those 5 answers to that first question in my filters. I can also filter by date, or if I want, I can create custom filters by session. So I can come in here, and you can see that all of the questions in that wildlife observation form are now available to me for filtering in this application. I'm going to leave this data just filtered by geography. I have a quick report. So I may just want to have a quick total number of animals that are available in the extent and filters that I've applied. And I can do that here in the application. If I want to do a more advanced analysis, then I can expose the ArcGIS Online spatial analysis tools here. So I filtered my data. Now I have access to these spatial analysis tools. I have a brief description of what's appropriate and how I can, what kind of outputs I will get. I can do everything from creating heat maps or buffers, create view sheds if I want to be able to see from a particular location the landscape that's visible from that point, finding hotspots, outliers in my data, a whole range of analysis. Let's create a density map of our wildlife today. So here is my layer of wildlife observations, and I'm going to give this a quick name, this analysis result. It's going to be stored under my name in the organization, so no one will see this analysis result until I share it with them. When I hit run analysis, I'm asking ArcGIS to run this analysis for me. I don't need any software installed on my local computer, and I don't need a more powerful GIS computer to do this analysis. In the application, we've also given record by record access to the data, so I can review information in detail. I can also export it if I want to take this into another application and work with it. I have a grid overlay tool that helps me plan additional research and wildlife observation studies. And then when that result is calculated, it's presented to me in my session, and I can make some minor tweaks to what's visible to clean this up. And now I can produce a report that would give me a PDF or a JPEG of my analysis result that I can then send to in an email or add to a Word document or share with others. So this is just one example of the workflow that we can enable for an ecology function with these solutions. Let me show you protection. In the protection solution, we have, again, roles defined and a workflow where we have information coming from the field that we want management and analysts to have access to over time. So we have an application for creating patrols that a section ranger uses to assign mandates. Rangers can accept those mandates and be collecting incidents of illegal activity using their mobile devices while they're in the field. The head of enforcement has a dashboard where they can monitor things in near real time, so both the incidents and the ranger force. And then the protection analyst has an application that they use to explore the data and create reports over time. So we have 4 apps, one for each of these types of roles, built in the solution. So I'm going to show you these apps from the perspective of each role. This web application is called Workforce, and as a section ranger, someone responsible for creating patrols, I use this tool to see my ranger workforce. I can see who's signed in and active. I can also see who might be on leave, and I can create different assignments here in the application that will then be sent to their mobile device. So if I want to start a new assignment, I can first decide what type of patrol I want to establish, and then I can enter an address, or I can actually create the mandate location in the map. I can assign it to staff that are working, and I can give that a priority, a due date, and add other information if I want. Let's see. I was reminded once that section rangers don't say please, they give commands, so we'll be precise here. When I create this assignment, it goes to the mobile device of the ranger that I have assigned it to. And they can accept it, and they can begin working on that assignment. Once I've completed my patrol assignments, I can then have rangers move out and go into the field. So as a ranger on a protection patrol, I have this digital form that I use in Survey 123 when I come across illegal activity. And this form is not meant to replace radio-based incident response communications. It's meant to save time in the information gathering around illegal activity and incidents. So if we come across people that have information about illegal activity, we can use the form to gather an informant tip. If we're on patrol and we come across evidence like an abandoned camp, or we come across a carcass and we want to collect information about that, the form will expand and contract based on the answers that we've given. So if I've come across a carcass and it has to do with a key species, now I have these additional questions that I can complete. And again, these forms are based on the forms that are in use in some parks today. We can take photos, we can take the location. If I choose poaching, then I have a different set of questions that are available to me. As rangers are collecting this information and submitting, the head of enforcement has a dashboard that they can use to monitor activities. So this is reading the logins, the status from the mobile devices of the rangers. I can see who is active. I can also see incidents that are coming in from those forms, and over time I can see what those trends might be. I had a ranger walking to work this morning and here in Ottawa, and I've been able to see their breadcrumbs and the incidents that they collected today. Over time, this information is captured by ArcGIS Online and stored in my organization. And now my protection analyst can take this information and look at it with various spatial analysis and do reporting. So very similar to the ecology analysis, I have a similar set of tools and a workflow enabled for a protection analyst. I can filter data by geography or by the attributes that I'm concerned with. And then I can then perform an analysis. Let's say we don't want to expose sensitive locations of incidents to another part of our organization. So we can create a generalization of this data to share in a report. Again, I'm running this analysis in ArcGIS Online, and I have access to a different set of data. So because I'm a protection analyst in the protection team, I have access to this protection information and the ranger assignment data as well, which would otherwise I wouldn't have access to. I'll stop there. I think you have all seen that ArcGIS provides the capability to collect data in the field, to bring it into a system securely, synchronize it between apps that then connect those field and management workflows.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
We'd like to just transition over and take a few questions that we've got piled in. If you'd like to ask a question, please do so in the WebEx view here. So first of all, thank you. We appreciate you all taking the time to listen in, and those of you that'll be able to listen in on the recording later on. There is a survey for the webcast, and we would love to get your feedback as to how we can better improve these presentations for future efforts. In the webcast, you will find a link to a handout, and that includes a few different links for places where you can find resources. Now, a great place to get started is just esri.com/PAM, P-A-M, Protected Area Management, and that will give you an overview and the ability to apply for access to the technology. If you're familiar with Esri's GeoNet site, that is a community forum by which we interface and engage with our user community. It's a place to ask questions. It's a place to remain engaged as we release new capabilities for the ArcGIS solution for protected area management. So I encourage you to visit GeoNet, just as it sounds, G-E-O-N-E-T. Create a profile if you don't already have one, and then join the ArcGIS Solutions for Protected Area Management group. So moving on to your questions. Let's start. Dave, there's a question that came in from Barrett about customization on languages. What are your options for making changes to both languages and changes to the use of this solution at different levels of government, whether it's national or even a local program?
Yeah, so ArcGIS Online is used worldwide, and so when we create a new organization, we can set those language choices for the entire organization. So that's the first thing. There is localization built into ArcGIS. When it comes to the forms, for example, our template form that I showed today is in English, but Survey 123 allows you to create a single form and have it displayed in the language that is selected on the device. So if the device is set to French and there are French questions built into the form, then the form will load in French. And so you can build one form and have multiple languages used by your field staff. And then of course you can also take this English form and translate it into your language preference. Beyond that, you can also use icons. So we don't have to use text. We can ask questions and provide answers using symbols and icons. And so there are other configuration options. The templates are available for a starting point, and they're completely customizable. Thank you, Dave.
So there's a question here that we could likely go on too long about, but it's about our personal experiences. So let me just say that we've had the opportunity through the course of this project to work with many different organizations that are focused on protected area management. When we began, we were specifically looking at organizations that supported these activities in multiple countries, because what we were looking for were the common patterns of use that we might be able to invest in optimizing for broad applicability. Our work, I'll transition to Dave to talk about his background. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Tanzania in the late 1990s, working on a protected area. I've been able, through my now nearly 17-year career at Esri, to work with many nonprofits, but to remain engaged with even national government entities like Tanzania National Parks, that have developed a very advanced GIS system to support their operational work. So one of the things that we're showing you, and I think this relates to another question in the forum, or perhaps even this question, is can this web GIS pattern really work? And it's really important to be clear that it's already working in many organizations, Tanzania National Parks being one of them, TANAPA, in that when we were doing our requirements work and we had begun to configure some of these tools, when we visited with them, they actually showed us examples of similar applications that they had already developed on their own. So it's a very relevant pattern, and we also need to thank both African Parks, Peace Park Foundation, and others for helping us with that early stage of requirements gathering to work towards what we're showing you today. Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, from my personal experience working with protected areas, before I joined Esri, I worked at the Nature Conservancy for 6 years, and from a central function supported U.S. state chapters and international programs using GIS to manage preserves. I think that you know, Tanzania National Parks has done a huge amount in terms of moving from pilot projects and one-off GIS projects into creating a central team that then supports their entire network of parks with both field data collection, data standards, and a web GIS pattern for managing that information and synchronizing it with headquarters so that they can do holistic management, adaptive management of their parks. So they've demonstrated quite a full use of the technology. Other places are using individual parts of these solutions. So we have some community-based natural resource management groups that are using Survey 123, a single form and a dashboard to engage communities in the management of a forest or a grassland that's in common use. So these solutions are very configurable. Small, medium, large organizations are deploying them, and they're quite flexible. The investment needed is low, and that's really our goal with these solutions.
Excellent, thank you, Dave. So there's a number of great questions here. Anything regarding licensing, please just go to the esri.com/PAM site and apply, and then we'll be in touch with you. Okay. We'll be in touch with you regarding a variety of licensing options. I'm hoping I'm still connected. I just got a little bit of an error message that popped up.
Yeah,
so good. Okay. So again, there are also questions about prioritizing and management of multiple protected areas across a network. And absolutely, the intent of these tools is to work in a federated manner, by which they're not just limited to one area, but these dashboards can roll up across a park system. There's a tremendous amount of work that we've done to optimize the availability of underlying spatial data, ecological land units, green infrastructure modeling, et cetera, that would allow you to advise and optimize where you're creating new protected areas. That's likely a subsequent webcast that we'll focus on. But please, again, apply through the PAM site, and we'll be in touch to follow up on those details. We're so grateful for everyone dialing in, and I regret that we're short on time. But please join the GeoNet site. That's a great place for us to have a continuous dialogue. We're very appreciative of the work that you're all out there doing, and we appreciate the opportunity to contribute. So thank you again for participating today.